Hey guys, Joel Wall here today, and tomorrow, yesterday, what the fuck? So hey guys, today what I want to talk to you about is basically it's an emotional manipulator. Like, what's the difference between an emotional manipulator and a leader, right? And I know I went over this in a couple videos back, and I also went over another video, the last video, called Parasite People. And parasite people are the emotional manipulators in your life that are manipulating your life to be less than what you're allowed to be, than what they deem acceptable for you to be. So an emotional manipulator would tell you, hey, you can't do that. Whereas a leader can tell you, hey, why can't you do that? Like, what's holding you back from doing that? Why are you not allowing yourself to get to that level where you can do that? So today I want to go over 5 things that an emotional manipulator can do and also a leader can do, and show you how they are different. All right, so number 1 is an emotional manipulator will undermine what you perceive as your reality. They'll manipulate you, and they're incredibly skilled liars. All right, so everybody in their life has had someone tell them that they're crazy, or they're thinking something's up or something's wrong, and that it's not what it should be. All right, in the leader standpoint, where I come from, is I tell people, like, hey, you want to afford that car, but you can't afford that car right now. Why don't we do XYZ PDQ, and then that car will come into your reality? All right, we literally just had this happen with one of the guys that works in one of our companies, and he really wanted to get a Camaro. And it had been years, that's his dream car. I don't know why I think Camaros are shit. No offense. Chevy, I think, makes the Camaros. But he really wanted a Camaro. He wanted to see himself driving in that Camaro. So he worked really hard. We set up goals, we set up standards, and we helped him get into that dream car. And that's the difference, because on our side, we were leading him to a path that he wanted to have happen in his life. And his family, the entire time, was telling him, you shouldn't do it. You'll kill yourself. You'll get in an accident. Insurance is too high. Monthly payments are too high. You should, basically what they're saying is, you shouldn't have something nice because we don't think your value equates to X, right? And again, Camaro, whether you think it's nice or not, in his eyes, it was amazing. It's his beautiful dream car. His family was constantly telling him no. They were undermining him, his faith in what he thought he was worth. And we, as a leader, as an organization, were telling him, hey, that's 110% possible. Let's do blank, 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 and get you there. He got it done in 90 days. Boom, car happens in his life. He made his own reality, all right? So the takeaway from this is that these parasite people or manipulators are going to like drag you down and suck the life out of you, making you stay in the spot that they're comfortable with, which is normally in a lower echelon of society and poverty and all this shit. They're going to try and just ruin you and make sure that you don't go above where they're at. Us as leaders, when we have people in our pack, when we have people that we want to help and grow, we want to push them past what they feel is possible. Think about a personal trainer, right? A personal trainer will constantly push you to get bigger, faster, stronger. Whereas, you know, a friend who's a couch potato won't want to go do stuff with you, and they're not going to push you to have a better diet. They're not going to push you to go to the gym or go on exercise or work. They're going to say, hey, stay with me. We'll just eat potato chips and binge watch Game of Thrones, all right? We're not sponsored by Game of Thrones, but if we were, that'd be cool. Number 2 is emotional manipulators' actions rarely ever match their words. So they'll tell you something, and then they'll go do the opposite. Like, I always use this example with people, is that imagine if you showed up to a gym and you're like, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. And then like, Honey Boo Boo's mom, the old version of her, shows up and she's your fucking personal trainer. She's like, all right, today we're going to, got that go-go juice for you. Just like anybody who's like just a bigger person shows up and they're like, I'm going to teach you how to be a personal trainer. Or you're getting a driver's license, and you're trying to take student driving classes and your instructor is blind, right? Stuff like that. It makes sense when we look at it, but when we actually introspectively look at ourselves and we say, okay, well, this person's telling me this, but then they're going and doing this, that's incorrect. That's like a red flag in my mind, is that if someone says, hey man, I'm going to work hard, or I'll be there, or I'll do this, but then they won't go do X, Y, Z or whatever we ask them to do, it starts to, starts raising flags in my mind saying like, okay, are you serious about what you're doing? Are you trying to manipulate the situation to make us or you or something feel different than what it is? Maybe it's like making you stronger or we're not. So classic example with me, and this might be a little off, but just follow me through the rabbit hole, is I used to manipulate myself to be complacent. So after I tore my rotator cuff in college playing baseball, I gained a shit ton of weight, like 100 pounds in 6 months. And I used to look at myself and be like, ugh, I hate being fat, right? So that's what I would say. But I would never take the actions to go change that and go change that and go change that. So I weighed, over 300 pounds for years of my life. And then at one point I looked at myself and I'm like, oh, I hate being fat. And the leader side of me came out and said, look, you don't hate being fat. You're not changing your diet. You're not changing what you're doing. You're not changing anything about your life. So you're telling me all this bullshit like I hate being fat, but you're not actually doing something to not be fat. So you're not exercising. You're eating Twinkies. You're going to Chick-fil-A and ordering 4 meals at 10:30 at night. You're not exercising. Like you're not doing shit. Stop saying you hate being fat because that's not true. You're lying to yourself. You're manipulating yourself. Once I understood that, I quit saying it. And I started changing things in my diet, in my workout, and everything that I was doing to start losing weight. All right? So that's a classic example of even when you can manipulate yourself. So you have to be really, really careful with like, what's the future you want to paint and how fast do you want to paint it? What's the future that you want to obtain and how fast do you want to get to having that future, all right? So that's number 2. So number 3 is emotional manipulators or master manipulators. They're experts at giving guilt, and when they're held accountable, they love playing victim. All right, they love being like, oh, well, I couldn't do that because of this, but you could have done this. You could have done that. Like, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? So whereas a leader is 100% happy to take the blame. If it's their fault, it's 100% happy. And they're 110% happy not to give out guilt, but to give out responsibilities and hold people accountable to those responsibilities because they're holding themselves accountable to those responsibilities, okay? So an emotional manipulator will come in and they'll make every situation be everybody else's fault and never theirs. And if they're ever blamed or caught with their hand in a cookie jar, they'll basically blame the fact that their hand wandered in the cookie jar and it's not their fault. They didn't want the cookies anyways, right? So if you have people in your life, going back to the parasite people video, card here, then, and if they're doing that, if they're doing any of these 3 major things, then you need to start looking at removing those people from your life. If they're playing the victim, if they're never owning the responsibilities, if they're always making you feel guilty, if their actions rarely ever match their words, and if they're constantly telling you you're not able to do something, for me and for a lot of us, it's like, oh, that's obvious. That's the person I don't want in my life. But if that's the case, why do we have such a hard time getting people like that out of our lives? So why do we let those people linger around our lives? Is it because they're making us feel comfortable? Is it because they're, giving us money? Is it because, you don't want to be alone and you're scared to be rejected? Well, there's a lot of reasons internally that you're allowing parasite people or emotional manipulators to stay in your life. And really what I'm challenging you to do in this video is to get rid of those people, because the faster you can get rid of those people, the faster you realize how strong you are, how much of a bright and brilliant future you deserve, and how much they're holding you back from obtaining that. Because guys, look, the only resource that we have in life that we will never get back once we spend it is time. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. The only resource that you have that you will never get back once you spend it is time. So the 5-10 minutes that you've watched this video, you'll never get it back. And that's why I only want to deliver valuable shit to you, because if you're going to spend that much time watching these videos, you need to have stuff that's not sugar-coated, but it's also not just fucking blowing your ass up and telling you how shit you are, because you're probably already doing enough of that. So what you need to realize is that you're part of the 5-10% of this world that deserves and should demand to be successful. If you're critical about yourself, if you're critical about the future you want, if you're looking at, how can you improve yourself, improve your future, and make everything better for you, then you deserve every bit of the rewards that you're trying to reap. So you need to get away from the people that are trying to hold you back, that are trying to tether you to their reality instead of letting you go into your reality. So those are the three main things of emotional manipulators. If you want some more tips on emotional manipulators or anything like that, put them down in the comments below. If you have any questions, I'll read them all. I'll make sure to get you all answered. You know, guys, again, I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope that you make this day the day that counts. Carpe diem, and I'll fucking see you in the next one.